The grand chamber of the Galactic Conclave fell silent as Supreme Overlord Vex Thor's hologram materialized above the central podium. His crystalline form, towering 20 feet tall, scattered prismatic light across the faces of 200 assembled species representatives. The agenda was simple: the final vote on whether to integrate humanity into the greater galactic community, a euphemism for conquest that fooled no one. The humans, Vex Thor's voice resonated through the chamber, persist in maintaining their independent systems despite our generous offers of protection. Their primitive defense grid, barely more than automated satellites and antiquated missile platforms, poses no threat to modern civilizations. It is time we bring them into the fold for their own protection. In the shadow of a massive support pillar, Commander Sarah Chen of Earth's Diplomatic Corps fought to keep her expression neutral. The aliens' arrogance was exactly what humanity had been counting on for the past 50 years. Every primitive defense platform, every outdated satellite, every simple automated system had been carefully crafted to appear exactly as the Galactic Conclave expected. The desperate attempts of a young species to protect itself with inferior technology. The reality was something else entirely. I have reviewed their military capabilities myself, continued Vex Thor, his crystalline form pulsing with what passed for amusement among his kind. Their most advanced quantum computers have barely achieved million-qubit coherence. Their energy weapons still rely on plasma containment fields. Their fastest ships can barely achieve 0.3 light speed. He paused, letting the laughter ripple through the chamber. They are children playing with toys. Sarah's neural implant tingled as it received an encrypted transmission. Operation Shadowfall is go. All systems primed, awaiting final authorization. She suppressed a smile. Humanity's greatest advantage had always been its ability to appear weak when it was strong. The vote was a formality. Within hours, the Conclave's peacekeeping fleet would enter Sol system, expecting to find a primitive civilization protected by outdated technology. They would find something else entirely. What looked like simple defense platforms were actually quantum-entangled nodes of the most advanced artificial intelligence network ever created. Those outdated satellites housed zero-point energy taps that could power a small sun. The primitive missile platforms contained temporal stasis fields that could freeze entire battleships in moments of stop time. Commander Chen, Vex Thor's voice cut through her thoughts. Perhaps Earth's representative would like to make a final statement before the vote. Sarah stepped forward, her movements measured and calm. The neural lace beneath her skin hummed with activity as it coordinated with Earth's defense grid, preparing for what was to come. Supreme Overlord, honored representatives, she began, her voice steady. Humanity has always valued peace and cooperation. We simply ask for the right to develop at our own pace in our own way. Your development will be guided by those who know better, Vex Thor declared. The vote will now begin. As the representatives began logging their decisions, Sarah sent a single thought through her neural lace. Execute Shadowfall Protocol. Across the Sol system, thousands of seemingly primitive defense platforms began to change. Quantum fields shifted, revealing their true nature. Artificial intelligences awakened from their purposeful slumber. Energy weapons of unimaginable power emerged from temporal stasis. In the conclave chamber, Sarah's neural display showed her what was happening. The peacekeeping fleet had already begun its approach to Sol system, their commanders probably laughing about the easy victory to come. They would be the first to learn humanity's true capabilities. The vote is complete, Vex Thor announced triumphantly. By an overwhelming majority, the Conclave authorizes immediate integration of human territory. The peacekeeping fleet will begin operations within the hour. Sarah stepped forward once more. Supreme Overlord, there is something you should know about humanity. The chamber grew quiet at the steel in her voice. We have a saying. The best place to hide something is in plain sight. Your fleet is about to learn what that means. As if on cue, her neural lace transmitted the first images from the Sol system's edge. The peacekeeping fleet had just encountered humanity's real defense grid. The look of confusion on Vexthor's crystalline face was something Sarah would remember for a long time. The war for human independence was about to begin, and humanity was far more ready than anyone suspected. Admiral Kraz of the Galactic Conclave's peacekeeping fleet stood on his command deck, mandibles clicking in anticipation as his dreadnought approached the outer defense perimeter of Sol's system. The massive view screen showed what his intelligence reports had promised: a sparse network of primitive defense platforms, their energy signatures barely registering on his advanced sensors. Pathetic, he chittered to his bridge crew. To think these humans believed such obsolete technology could protect them. His crew responded with appreciative clicks and whistles. The fleet of 1,000 ships moved forward with absolute confidence, their weapons powered down. They wouldn't need them for this operation. In the diplomatic corps chamber back on Earth, Commander Sarah Chen watched through her neural interface as the invasion fleet approached. Around her, the Emergency Defense Council sat in silence, their own neural interfaces providing real-time data of the unfolding situation. The room's holographic displays showed the approaching fleet from multiple angles, each ship tagged with detailed analytical data. "They're maintaining their approach vector," reported Admiral Zhang, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic glow. "No deviation from expected patterns. They haven't even activated their defensive shields." Sarah nodded, her neural lace transmitting constant updates from the defense grid. "Arrogance makes for predictable behavior. Are all systems ready?" "The quantum matrix is synchronized," confirmed Dr. Patel, her fingers dancing through invisible holographic controls. "All defense platforms are maintaining their camouflage fields. The enemy sees exactly what we want them to see." In space, Admiral Kraz's fleet crossed the first defensive line. His sensors registered only primitive radar systems and basic missile launchers. His tactical officer reported that the human defensive grid was operating at minimal power, barely enough to maintain basic functionality. "Begin the containment procedure," Kraz ordered, mandibles spreading in what passed for a smile among his species. "Disable their platforms with ion pulses. No need to destroy such pitiful attempts at defense. They might make good museum pieces." The first ion pulses lashed out from the invasion fleet, striking the seemingly vulnerable defense platforms. To Kraz's satisfaction, the platform's energy signatures flickered and died, just as expected. Or so it seemed. In reality, each ion pulse was being absorbed and redirected through quantum channels, feeding power into humanity's true defense system. The disabled platforms were actually becoming more powerful with each attack. Sarah watched the energy readings climb. "They're following the exact pattern we predicted. How long until the quantum capacitors are at full charge?" 3 minutes at current absorption rates," Dr. Patel replied. "They're actually charging our systems faster than our simulations suggested. Their overconfidence is making them sloppy with power output." The invasion fleet pressed deeper into the solar system, methodically disabling defense platforms as they went. Admiral Kraz was already composing his victory speech in his mind when his tactical officer noticed something odd. "Admiral," the officer called out, mandibles twitching nervously, "I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from the disabled platforms. They appear to be changing." Before Kraz could respond, his ship's quantum sensors began screaming warnings. The primitive defense platforms were transforming. What had appeared to be simple missile launchers were unfolding into impossibly complex geometric patterns. The basic radar arrays were revealing themselves to be quantum probability manipulators, and the outdated power cores were emerging from carefully maintained temporal stasis fields, showing their true nature as zero-point energy taps. "Impossible," Kraz chittered in alarm. "These readings, this technology, it can't be." In the Defense Council chamber, Sarah stood. "All platforms have achieved full power. The quantum matrix is stable. The enemy fleet is fully within our containment field." She paused, allowing herself a small smile. "Execute Phase 2. Across the solar system, Thousands of defense platforms activated simultaneously. Quantum fields sprang into existence, cutting off all possible escape vectors. Temporal stasis fields reached out, trapping entire squadrons of ships in bubbles of frozen time. And at the heart of it all, an artificial intelligence more advanced than anything the Galactic Conclave had ever seen began its work. Admiral Kraz watched in horror as his ships began to lose power, their advanced systems falling under the control of humanity's quantum defense network. His own dreadnought's controls were becoming unresponsive, its vast computer systems being rewritten by something that moved through quantum channels as easily as light through air. "Send the distress signal," he screamed. "Warn the Conclave. The humans, they're not what we thought. They're not." His transmission cut off mid-sentence as his ship's quantum computers were subsumed into humanity's network. Throughout the fleet, the same scene played out thousands of times as humanity's true technological capabilities were finally revealed. Back in the council chamber, Admiral Zhang looked at the tactical displays with satisfaction. Phase 2 complete. The entire invasion fleet has been contained. No distress signals escaped the quantum barrier. Shall we proceed with Phase 3? Sarah nodded, her neural lace already configuring the next stage of humanity's response. Proceed. It's time to show the Galactic Conclave exactly who they're dealing with. The war had begun, but not in the way anyone in the Conclave had expected. Humanity's long deception was over, and the true balance of power was about to become very, very clear. Supreme Overlord Vex Thor's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained rage as he faced the Galactic Conclave's emergency session. The massive chamber, usually filled with the casual confidence of the galaxy's dominant species, now hummed with nervous energy. Reports from the Sol system had ceased completely 12 hours ago, and the most powerful peacekeeping fleet ever assembled had gone silent. How? His voice reverberated through the chamber. How did a primitive species manage to neutralize our entire fleet? In the observation gallery, Commander Sarah Chen sat quietly, her neural lace processing the chaos unfolding below. The quantum entanglement network was feeding her real-time updates from Sol system, where humanity's AI systems were systematically reprogramming the captured alien fleet. Each vessel was being studied, its technology analyzed and improved upon by humanity's quantum computers. A holographic projection appeared before the Conclave, showing the last transmitted images from Admiral Kraz's fleet. The assembled representatives watched in stunned silence as humanity's defense platforms revealed their true nature. What they had dismissed as primitive technology transformed into something far beyond their understanding. "Impossible," whispered arch-technologist Zixel, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "Their quantum manipulation capabilities exceed our theoretical limits. The power requirements alone should be impossible." Sarah stood, her voice carrying across the chamber. The neural lace beneath her skin glowed faintly, creating an almost ethereal effect. Perhaps it's time we had an honest discussion about humanity's capabilities. Vex Thor's crystalline form pulsed with dangerous light. "You dare? Your species deceived this Conclave. You presented false data, hidden your true technology level." "We showed you exactly what you wanted to see," Sarah interrupted, her calm voice cutting through his rage. "You saw primitive defense platforms because you expected to see them. You assumed our quantum computers were basic because you couldn't imagine us surpassing you. Your arrogance blinded you to the truth." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and accusations, but Sarah remained unmoved. Her neural lace was showing her something far more interesting: the quantum signature of approaching warships. The Conclave was about to attempt a second invasion. "I should inform you," she continued, "that another fleet is currently approaching Sol's system. 3,000 ships, if I'm not mistaken, launched from the Proxima staging area approximately 6 hours ago." The chamber fell silent. Vex Thor's form flickered momentarily, a sign of surprise among his kind. "How could you possibly know that?" Sarah smiled. "The same way we knew about the First Fleet. the same way we know about the 5 other fleets being prepared in secret across the galaxy. Humanity's quantum observation network extends far beyond what you imagined possible. As if to emphasize her point, the chamber's holographic displays suddenly activated, showing real-time images of the approaching fleet. The representatives watched in horror as these ships encountered the same fate as the First Fleet, their systems going dark as humanity's quantum network enveloped them. "You see," Sarah explained, "while you were laughing at our primitive technology, we were studying yours. Every ship that entered our space, every diplomatic vessel that visited Earth, every piece of technology you so generously shared, we were learning, adapting, improving. Your quantum computers are impressive, but ours transcended traditional computational limits decades ago." Arch-technologist Zixol's tentacles had gone completely still, a sign of deep shock in his species. "The energy requirements, the computational power needed for such a network, is beyond your current understanding," Sarah finished. "Just as your ancestors' technology would have seemed like magic to their primitive forebears. Humanity chose to appear weak because we wanted to understand our neighbors before revealing our true capabilities." The neural lace fed her new information. The Second Fleet had been fully secured. Its ships were already being integrated into humanity's defense network, their technology analyzed and assimilated. But more importantly, the quantum eye had decoded their command protocols, giving humanity access to the Conclave's entire military network. "I suggest," Sarah said, her voice carrying a new edge of authority, "that the Conclave vote again, this time on recognizing humanity's sovereign status and establishing new protocols for peaceful interaction." Vexthor's crystalline form had lost its aggressive glow, now barely maintaining coherence. "And if we refuse?" Sarah's neural lace projected a holographic display in the center of the chamber, showing every military installation, every hidden fleet, every secret weapons facility the Conclave had established throughout the galaxy. "Then we'll be forced to demonstrate just how far humanity's capabilities extend beyond what you've seen today." The message was clear. Humanity had not only defeated the Conclave's best fleets, but had also been watching, learning, and preparing for this moment for decades. The balance of power hadn't just shifted, it had been completely upended. In the stunned silence that followed, Sarah could almost hear the sound of 1,000 years of galactic arrogance crumbling. The war was over before it had really begun, and a new era of galactic politics was about to dawn, one where humanity would no longer hide its true strength. The Galactic Conclave was fracturing. In the days following humanity's display of power, the once unified government had descended into chaos. Species that had been subjugated for centuries saw an opportunity for independence. Long-standing alliances crumbled as blame was cast for the catastrophic mishandling of the human situation. In his private chambers, Supreme Overlord Vexthor watched his empire collapse. His crystalline form had lost its characteristic brilliance, now dulled by stress and fear. The latest reports showed that 15 member species had already declared their independence from the Conclave, citing humanity's protection as their guarantee of safety. "How did we not see this coming?" he whispered to his inner council. "How did we miss their true capabilities?" Arch-technologist Zixol, who had spent the last 3 days analyzing the little data they had on humanity's quantum network, raised a trembling tentacle. "We saw what we expected to see. Their deception was perfect. They showed us technology just primitive enough to dismiss, just advanced enough to seem like they were trying their hardest. We never questioned it because it fit our preconceptions exactly." Meanwhile, aboard the Earth flagship Prometheus, Commander Sarah Chen was conducting a very different kind of meeting. The ship's quantum core hummed silently as it processed data from across the galaxy, its AI systems monitoring the Conclave's collapse in real time. Around her sat the newly formed Human-Alien Cooperation Council, including representatives from several former Conclave species who had sought immediate alliance with Earth. "The situation is developing faster than anticipated," Sarah noted, her neural lace projecting detailed analytics into the shared consciousness space of the meeting. The conclave's power structure is dissolving at an exponential rate. Ambassador Catal, a former mid-level bureaucrat who had been one of the first to recognize the shifting winds of power, nodded his serpentine head. Many species have waited centuries for this opportunity. The conclave's authority was built on technological superiority and military might. Now that humanity has proven both to be paper tigers, there's nothing left to fear. The quantum AI brought a new alert to Sarah's attention. The conclave's military command had splintered, with various factions taking control of different fleet segments. Some were declaring loyalty to their home species, others attempting to maintain the old power structure, and a few, most worryingly, seemed to be preparing for one final desperate attack. "They're planning something," Sarah announced, sharing the tactical analysis through the neural network. Multiple fleet movements suggesting a convergence on Sol's system. It seems some elements of the conclave would rather see everything burn than accept the new reality. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs, but Sarah remained calm. Humanity had prepared for this possibility too. The neural lace conveyed her commands to Earth's defense grid, now exponentially more powerful with the integration of captured conclave technology. In his chambers, Vexthor received the news he had been waiting for. Nearly 40% of the remaining conclave fleet had rallied to his call for one final assault on humanity. "If we cannot rule," he declared, his crystalline form regaining some of its former luster, "then let us at least die with honor." But honor was not what waited for them in Sol's system. As the combined fleet approached Earth's space, they found something very different from the previous encounters. The seemingly simple defense platforms were gone, replaced by structures that defied conventional physics. Quantum probability fields twisted space itself, while temporal distortion grids created layers of defense that existed simultaneously in multiple timeframes. "By the first light," whispered Vexthor's fleet commander as the sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. "What have they built?" The answer came not in words, but in action. Humanity's quantum network reached out, not to disable or destroy, but to communicate. Every ship in the attacking fleet received the same message, broadcast directly into their command systems. "The age of conquest is over. The time of cooperation has begun. Choose wisely." What followed was not a battle, but a demonstration. Earth's defensive systems didn't just stop the attacking fleet. They rewrote the rules of what was possible. Ships found themselves traversing light years instantaneously, their crews experiencing firsthand the true extent of humanity's quantum manipulation capabilities. Weapons failed to fire not because they were disabled, but because the very laws of physics in their vicinity had been temporarily rewritten. In the Prometheus's command center, Sarah watched the would-be attackers' reactions through the quantum network. "They're beginning to understand," she observed. "This isn't about victory or defeat. It's about evolution." The truth was, humanity had never wanted to rule the galaxy. They had hidden their true capabilities not out of fear, but out of hope. Hope that when the time came, they could guide the galaxy toward a future of genuine cooperation, rather than dominance and submission. As the last of the attacking ships stood down, their crews too awestruck to continue their suicide mission, Sarah prepared to address the galaxy. The old order was finished, but what would replace it remained to be seen. The price of arrogance had been paid. Now came the harder task of building something new from the ashes of the old. 1 year after the fall of the Galactic Conclave, the great chamber that had once housed their assemblies held a very different gathering. Representatives from over 500 species filled the space, but this time there were no elevated positions, no hierarchies of seating. All were equal in the newly formed Galactic Cooperative. Commander Sarah Chen, now Ambassador Chen, stood at the center of the chamber, her neural lace interfacing with the quantum network that now connected willing species across the galaxy. The network itself had evolved, incorporating insights and innovations from dozens of cultures that had previously been suppressed under conclave rule. A year ago, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast space. Many of you saw humanity as primitive, backward, barely worth noticing. Today, we gather not as rulers and subjects, not as advanced and primitive, but as equals with different gifts to share. The assembled representatives included many familiar faces. Former Supreme Overlord Vexthor, now simply Representative Vexthor, sat among his people, his crystalline form showing the subtle patterns that indicated deep thought. The experience of the past year had changed him profoundly. You may wonder, Sarah continued, why humanity maintained its deception for so long. Why, possessing such advanced technology, did we play the role of a primitive species? The answer lies in human history, in lessons we learned long before we reached the stars. The quantum network activated, projecting images of Earth's past, civilizations rising and falling, empires expanding and crumbling, technological advances bringing both progress and destruction. We learned that true advancement isn't just about technology. It's about wisdom, about understanding when not to use the power you possess. We watched your conclave, saw how technological superiority led to stagnation, to arrogance, to the suppression of new ideas and potential. Arch-technologist Zixel, who had become one of humanity's strongest allies in the past year, raised a tentacle. You could have conquered us all. Your quantum technology, your artificial intelligences, they are still far beyond our understanding. Why choose this path instead? Sarah smiled. Because conquest was never our goal. We had already seen where that path leads. Instead, we chose to wait, to watch, to understand. And when the moment came, we chose to use our power not to dominate, but to liberate. The quantum network displayed new images, former conclave worlds flourishing under self-governance, species long thought primitive revealing their own unique innovations, new collaborations producing technologies that would have been impossible under the old order. The greatest power, Sarah continued, isn't the ability to destroy or dominate. It's the ability to nurture, to protect, to help others reach their full potential. That's why we hid our true capabilities. We needed to understand who would use power wisely and who would abuse it. In the year since the conclave's fall, humanity had shared much of its technology, but always with careful consideration of the recipient's intentions and wisdom. The quantum network itself had become a tool for understanding and cooperation rather than control. Today, Sarah announced, we take the next step. The quantum network has evolved beyond humanity's original design, incorporating the unique insights of every species that has joined it. Together, we're creating something greater than any one civilization could achieve alone. Vexthor's crystalline form shimmered as he spoke for the first time in the session. We thought we were the pinnacle of evolution, that our role was to guide lesser species. How wrong we were. True evolution comes from cooperation, from the mixing of different perspectives and ideas. The chamber hummed with agreement. The quantum network pulsed with the shared thoughts and emotions of hundreds of species, each contributing their unique perspective to the greater whole. The age of empire is over, Sarah declared. The age of cooperation has begun. But this is not the end of our journey. It's barely the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are still many species out there, isolated, perhaps thinking they too must hide their true potential out of fear. Our task now is to show them that there's another way. As she spoke, the quantum network displayed a final image. The galaxy seen from above, countless points of light representing not just stars, but civilizations, each unique, each valuable, each with something to contribute to the greater whole. We deceived you, Sarah concluded, not out of malice, but out of hope. Hope that when the truth was revealed, you would understand why we waited, why we watched, why we chose the path we did. And now that hope has been rewarded. The dawn of understanding has arrived, and with it, the true potential of all our species can finally be realized. The chamber erupted in approval, the quantum network blazing with the combined consciousness of hundreds of species, united not by force or fear, but by the shared vision of what they could become together. The deception was over. The truth was known. And in that truth, the galaxy had found something far more precious than power. It had found wisdom.